Hello, I'm Fred Davies with The Wholesome Life, and today's discussion is going to be about the digestive system because the digestive system is critical and key to all of our acquiring the right materials to rebuild all the systems of the body. The digestive system has so many parts in it, and we're actually going to talk about today a couple of parts that you wouldn't consider normally in the digestive system because they don't have the food going through them, but they are significant in the way the food is digested. You'll notice in all these different parts and pieces of the digestive system that the food has a long way to travel, and it starts in the mouth. I actually think it starts, though, with the eyes, because remember, if food is attractive, we will eat what's good for us. And sometimes, even though it's good for us, if it's not made attractively, we won't eat it. So I guess that's the first thing to remember is let's make our food attractive so that when we eat, it's something that we want to do and that we want to bring in the best things for us, the things that are actually good for us. It is amazing how fresh is attractive. Who wouldn't want to eat that fresh apple right off the tree, or that beautiful red apple, or that beautiful red tomato that just came off the vine? I love walking through the garden and through the orchard and picking things right then and eating them as they're coming fresh. And that's one of the principles of good nutrition, is that it's fresh and wholesome in its whole state. So our digestive process starts in the mouth and the teeth, and our teeth are critical. When our teeth are compromised, then it's very difficult to get good nutrition. I have a friend who has compromised teeth for his whole mouth, and he really doesn't get good nutrition, partly because he chooses to eat sugars and sweets that make it even harder for his mouth to stay healthy. Notice that chew, chew, chew is at the very beginning here. So if your teeth are compromised, or you don't have any teeth anymore, does using a blender mean you don't have to chew? Well, yes and no. While the blender might actually chew things apart for you and make it easier to make sure that it's broken down, you still need to mix saliva with it, because saliva is alkaline and is the beginning of the digestion process. So our food needs to be made smooth and chewed to an applesauce consistency before we swallow it. Using muscle testing and eating what you know your body needs ensures that you're providing your body the repair materials that it needs. Many of the pains and problems that we experience are taken care of because the body is getting the right materials for the needed repairs and the rebuilds. Individuals who are prone to cold sores, for example, or I call them stress sores, will notice that they get them a lot less or almost never when their body's getting the right materials, temple quality materials, and also because they're not eating any of the foods that are toxic for their body. If your teeth are compromised or they're loose, and that's a family nutritional weakness, we need to get enough calcium in the body. I take calcium every single day because our food doesn't have it in it anymore. Dr. Christopher's herbal calcium is a wonderful choice because it's absorbable. It is plant-based. For children who are teething, Dr. Christopher's Kitty Calc makes a huge difference. We've had children, our grandchildren, who've come to us teething, just grouchy as could be. Their parents are just fit to be tied over how grouchy they are and said they just can't do anything. A little bit of calcium And they're happy and doing fine because the body's meeting the needs and they're getting everything they need. I usually take my calcium in as Dr. Christopher's calcium tea. Herbal calcium capsules work. The formula, the liquid formula works. Any method you want to get enough calcium so that your teeth and your bones and your nerves are getting enough calcium. Now, what if your teeth are loose? Dr. Christopher's Herbal Tooth and Gum Powder actually has white oak bark in it. That tooth and gum powder or white oak bark powder by itself will tighten up the tooth in the gum line. I've done it myself and it does work. There's stories in Dr. Christopher's books on it working also. Just pack it in around the tooth, leave it in overnight, and it does work. So when we swallow the food and it leaves the mouth as an applesauce consistency, it goes into the esophagus. And in the esophagus, it moves down with our swallowing into the stomach. Now, what if we've got burning in the esophagus from the stomach acids moving up into the esophagus? Taking a little bit of slippery elm as a slippery elm gruel before we eat to coat the esophagus helps a lot, because then the food isn't touching the esophagus wall and it helps the esophagus to heal. So just slippery elm as powder in water or cooked a little bit in as a slippery elm gruel will work and help the esophagus a lot if it's inflamed. Now the stomach. Food enters the stomach as slightly alkaline because our saliva mixed with it to make it alkaline. But when it goes into the stomach, stomach acids increase the acidity really, really rapidly. The food is to mix and churn in the stomach, mix with the stomach acids, move around, and begin the digestive process. If you suffer from acid reflux or GERD, you can do several things to calm this down and get it to working properly again. First, check, as always, to ensure the power is on in all of your digestive system parts, and check each part of the process if needed. Also, remember to check for blocks, hidden blocks, and if there's anything in each of the 4 areas of heart, mind, body, or spirit: emotional blocks, mental blocks, physical blocks, or spiritual blocks that could be causing your challenge. I've noticed that if we're eating temple quality foods and avoiding completely all the toxic foods, we have very few stomach upsets. That also helps if all of the systems of the body are working, and so that the liver and the other systems that work with the digestive process are working properly. Then sometimes the stomach is just not producing enough stomach acid. This is especially true more after 40, but you can increase your capacity of producing stomach acid by doing several things. That's the topic of another video, but I will mention the most important or most common way of increasing the stomach acid and increasing the acid alkaline capacity for being strongly alkaline and strongly acid. That's by taking 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses in a glass of room temperature or warm water. And that will help rebuild your stomach acid capacity, but also your alkaline capacity in your mouth. The next part of the digestive process that I'd like to talk about is your liver and gallbladder. When you eat oils or fat, bile that's produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder is essential to helping to digest those oils or fats. So that storage is pushed into the small intestine, which we'll talk about next. What if the gallbladder is got clogged ducts, or if there's stones in the gallbladder. The very fastest way to clear those stones is actually by using hydrangea and or other lithotriptic plants, because they dissolve stones. Dr. Christopher's process is 2 ounces of hydrangea root powder mixed in 1 quart of apple cider, he calls it, which is fresh organic apple juice. You mix this hydrangea root powder in a quart of apple juice and then shake it well. He says to let it sit for a couple of days. Most people, when they've got stones, are in so much pain, they want to start taking it right away. So start making 2 quarts. So you'll need 2 ounces of hydrangea root powder in each quart. The first one, I suggest you just start taking immediately. 2 ounces every hour. And then by the time you finish that one, the other one will have been shook and mixed enough, and you can take it. And typically within those 2 quarts, the stones are cleared, your gallbladder is clear of stones, and it's able to move the bile in there again. You may also need to take the liver and gallbladder formula or milk thistle seed formula to increase the capacity of the liver to produce the things that are needed for that bile to produce and for the acids and alkalines to produce properly. The next system that we don't think of as part of the digestive system is the pancreas. The pancreas actually produces pancreatic enzymes as well as producing insulin and glycogen. As long as the pancreatic enzymes are producing properly, then we have the digestive process as it is working, moving in from the stomach into the small intestine. It becomes very alkaline, and those pancreatic enzymes is that alkaline change that's needed. So between the liver and gallbladder producing bile and the pancreatic enzymes being pushed into the small intestine, the digestive process actually turns from acid in the stomach back to alkaline in the small intestine. If that is not working, if you've got any kind of stomach or digestive problems, it's worth muscle testing to see if your pancreatic enzymes are sufficient. And if not, use either Dr. Christopher's pancreas formula or just eat the cedar berries, which is the primary ingredient in that pancreas formula. Pancreas formula has mostly cedar berries, 16 parts cedar berries, and just 5 or 6 other plants that help balance it out. It's a wonderful formula, and it does exactly what it says it's going to do. I know that from experience. Well, now we've moved the food into the small intestine, into the duodenum part of it, where those other juices were pumped in to change it to alkaline. It moves then into the jejunum, and much of your digestion is done right here. This is where your friendly bacteria live. You remember we talked about in probably your first or second visit, the 5,000 species of friendly bacteria that are all needed to thrive. We've got another video that talks more about how to make them healthy, but remember that just having a broad spectrum of fresh materials helps those friendly bacteria be healthy. And also you can eat a lot of prebiotic foods that help them to be happy. You'll notice that anything that creates that has a lot of fiber in it and that creates a slippery mucus when it's got water with it is a prebiotic food. Even things like apples and berries and grapefruit are wonderful. Vegetables such as asparagus and dandelion greens and peas, Jerusalem artichokes, and so forth are wonderful. So just eating a really broad spectrum of temple quality foods will help your digestive process. The other thing that you can do if you have digestive issues is make sure that you're only eating no more often than every 2 hours so that your body has a chance to move those foods through. The next part of the process actually is it leaves the small intestine. It goes through what's called the ileum, and then it's stopped from moving into the large intestine by the ileocecal valve. The ileocecal valve can also go offline, so that's something we check and make sure it's functioning properly, because it makes sure the food moves through at the right time and doesn't move through too early. So you can check for blocks and put that back online if it's gone offline. The colon, or what we call the lower bowel, is the next part of the digestive process. If the bowel is not moving properly and you're not evacuating or voiding your food or having a bowel movement at least as often as you eat in a day. If you're eating twice a day, you should have at least 2 bowel movements a day. If you're eating 3 times a day, you should have 3 bowel movements a day at least. This ensures the bowel is moving and clearing out as often as you're eating. A few things to do if you're not having a bowel movement as often as you eat. 1, of course, drink more water. 2, test for Dr. Christopher's lower bowel. It's a wonderful, gentle formula that will help to regulate things as needed. It's not habit forming and probably should not be taken consistently, routinely, every day for year after year. It's not meant to be done like that. Like all herbs, the body will rebuild and it will not be needed for long term. If you have a significant need and need to move things along, Dr. Christopher's Quick Colon Cleanse 1 and 2 do that, and they're very effective. I've had clients who've been on medication that block the bowel from moving, and those will still help it to move. So once it's moved from the colon, it finishes and exits the body in the rectum. That's where we should get the urge to defecate. There's a few things that can go wrong there. If things are too solid, if the stool is too solid, then and too much pushing is required, or sometimes in pregnancy, women will get too much pressure on that area, and it will cause hemorrhoids. And while hemorrhoids are horrible, we don't want to talk about them, and they itch and they're painful, they can be made better. Hemorrhoids are an indicator that there's not enough calcium in the diet. You notice we keep talking about plant-based or herbal calcium. Well, that's our primary acid-alkaline balancer and is used in so many areas of the body. And in this case, if the calcium isn't sufficient, then the one-way valves in the veins and the small veins, like are used in the large intestine, are also compromised and are broken down. So eating more fresh foods, drinking more water, but getting more calcium in will absolutely help. Dr. Christopher's V-vein formula is made for varicose veins. It may help in this case also, as will witch hazel extract. And if you are having that problem, please feel free to ask. It's one that we can spend more time helping you muscle test specifically on, and so that you can clear it completely. Our digestive process is so amazing. It is so powerful. And when it works right, we feel great. So take care of your digestive process. Make sure all the parts of it are working. And if you need help, go ahead and ask us for help. We love knowing that you are doing well, that you're healthy, and that all of your systems are working properly so that you can have your very best wellness.